The assumption that a perfectly executed plan guarantees success is lethal for a new venture. Traditional management forecasting relies on historical data. It requires a known market and a known product to be accurate. But an early-stage project exists outside those boundaries. A startup is any human institution designed to create new products and services under conditions of extreme uncertainty. In that environment, the identity of the customer is unknown, and the exact nature of the product they will pay for is completely unproven. To survive this chaos, blind execution of a static plan fails. The organization must rely on a scientific engineering control system to discover what actually works. This systematic approach draws its DNA from the lean manufacturing principles pioneered at Toyota by engineers like Taiichi Ono. While manufacturing supply chains optimize for the efficient creation of physical goods, a new venture must optimize for the production of abstract empirical data. The core unit of progress in this system is validated learning, a rigorous method for demonstrating empirically that a team has discovered valuable truths about a business prospect. Validated learning is generated by a specific mechanism, the build, measure, learn feedback loop. The primary objective of an early-stage team is not writing code or building features. The objective is to minimize the total cycle time moving through this exact loop. By treating the organization like a tunable mechanical engine, founders replace speculation with empirical discovery. The control system begins with the build phase. It is a mistake to assume that the first step requires constructing a flawless, world-changing version 1.0. Instead, the goal is to create a minimum viable product. An MVP is an experimental probe designed to test fundamental business hypotheses. Its sole purpose is to allow the team to complete one full turn of the build, measure, learn loop with the absolute minimum amount of effort and development time. Under this methodology, the definition of waste is strict. Any feature or polish beyond what is required to learn from customers is wasted energy. The MVP is a scientific tool. Its value is measured entirely by the quality of the data it collects, not the elegance of its design. Once the probe is deployed, the process moves into the measure phase, taking in raw customer reactions. The team uses this incoming data to physically tune the engine, making micro-adjustments to the product to improve customer response. Looking at this side-by-side data visualization, the left chart shows a climbing line of cumulative users. This is a vanity metric. Because total numbers always go up, they create a dangerous false sense of success. As the vanity chart dims, the expanding graph on the right tracks actionable metrics. These track specific per-customer behaviors and cohort engagement over time, revealing the actual health of the system. This rigorous process of establishing an MVP baseline and running experiments to tune actionable metrics toward an ideal state is called innovation accounting. Without innovation accounting, teams face the worst possible outcome, successfully executing a plan that the actionable data proves is worthless. The loop closes with the learn phase. This is the moment a team must look objectively at the tuning process and make a decision. If relentless engine tuning fails to move actionable metrics away from a poor baseline, the foundational strategic hypothesis is broken. That triggers a pivot. A pivot is a structured course correction designed to test a new strategic hypothesis, grounded entirely in the validated learning collected from the failed attempts. Understanding the pivot requires redefining how organizations measure their lifespan, commonly known as runway. Runway is normally calculated as the remaining cash in the bank divided by the monthly burn rate. But the true measure of runway is the number of pivots a startup has left before those resources are exhausted. Extending lifespan requires more than cutting costs. It requires navigating the build, measure, learn loop fast enough to reach the next pivot before time runs out. Once a pivot aligns the product with the market, the engine starts to catch. The objective shifts from discovering a viable model to accelerating it. Startups scale sustainably by powering their feedback loops with one of three distinct engines of growth. The viral engine is driven by a quantified loop, where every new user recruits a specific, predictable fraction of their friends into the product. The sticky engine relies on exceptionally high customer retention rates and low churn, producing compounding long-term growth from a stable user base. This bar chart illustrates the paid engine, where scaling depends entirely on the customer lifetime value strictly exceeding the cost of customer acquisition. A control system cannot optimize for all three at once. It must focus its actionable metrics solely on tuning its specific engine. Identifying the correct mechanism is the only way a startup can achieve massive scale without burning out its internal systems. These control principles apply everywhere extreme uncertainty exists. Whether operating in a garage in Silicon Valley or deploying software inside the Pentagon, the underlying mechanics remain the same. Audit the experiment, rely strictly on actionable metrics, and ruthlessly execute the pivot when the baseline refuses to move. Building a successful venture relies on establishing a rigorous management science. It can be measured, it can be learned, and it can be engineered.